I was a junior at the time of the Columbine high school shooting in 1999. For us, there was no real frame of reference for what a school shooting even was. There was no way that somebody would bring a gun to school.
I was in choir at the time. We were seniors, and we thought there was some sort of unknown or undisclosed senior prank going on, something to do with fireworks out in the parking lot.
So I was in the library at the time that the shooting started, having a conversation with friends about what we were going to do after school that day. And a teacher ran through the doors that we had just come through, yelling for everybody to get under the tables, saying that somebody had a gun. Corey was my best friend who was under the same table with me in the library that day, and he did not make it out alive.
We thought we heard textbooks hitting the lockers. They kept getting louder and louder. And so we all started debating who was going to go see what that noise was in the hallway.
My first thought wasn't it was a gun. I thought it was just like someone dropping their books or like balloons popping. But once everyone was like hitting the ground and started running and screaming out of the cafeteria, I just followed suit.
We all shuffle outside. We think it's just a drill or someone pulled the alarm, and we're out there for a solid minute and a half. And then we hear like very faint popping noises.
I heard gunshots, but I didn't realize that they were gunshots at the time. One of the kids in my class thought that it was someone banging on the lockers, and I just kind of accepted that explanation because that's what it sounded like.
I heard the shots, and I could see the kids outside running away from the windows.
The fire alarm goes off. I just looked at my history teacher, and he was yelling at me to run.
I knew that there was like always a possibility that there would be a shooter on school campus because of all the lockdown drills that we had.
There was no such thing as an active shooter drill at the time of Columbine. There's two places in your life you were always told you're safe before 1999, and it was home and school.
It was sort of just an unspoken fear that we all had. Like growing up, there were school shooter drills, but it was just sort of something that you grew up with.
I guess I really realized what was happening when I saw a news alert pop up on my phone that there was a school in Parkland that was experiencing a school shooting. I was texting my family the whole time I was in the room. I put my phone in low power mode pretty early on because I really just wanted to constantly update them on what was going on.
We didn't have cell phones. Cell phones were around, but they were these massive bricks. They weren't something that fit into your pocket very easily. And we all carried pagers. That was sort of how it worked in the 90s. My mom had paged me, and I had been in touch with her briefly at the beginning of the shooting, but I couldn't really talk to her.
The first thing our teachers did was take our phones to keep us from posting about it and to keep us from calling our classmates and putting them in danger. You know, after about 20 minutes, they let us one by one call our parents. So I called my mom first. I said, "There's a shooting, it's real this time. And I love you," and that was pretty much it.
The next few years for me were really a blur. I was an emotional disaster, and I turned to substances almost immediately in order to cope.
After what happened, you know, there's all sorts of PTSD that comes with it, anxiety, depression, and I got suicidal. I even made an attempt one point in October. And so I feel like if we are going to have a conversation about school shootings, we need to address the impact that is left on survivors because there's a lot of guilt that's left with it.
I never went to school. I would only last for like a month. Like it was off and on. I would go back to school and I would drop out, go back, drop out. And I hung myself twice because of what happened.
Last year, I have a parking garage, and they were doing some construction, and me and a fellow Columbine survivor were out there, and a piece of concrete slab dropped, and she and I both hit the deck. There's a lot of survivors who find commonality in hatred of the 4th of July and fear of fireworks. Who hates the 4th of July? Who hits the deck when there's a loud noise if a car backfires or something like that? But the truth is that shooting survivors do.
Whenever I talk about the shooter, I usually say the shooter or the evil person, or people in my town, they go by his number that he was given in jail because that's what he is now. We don't give him the luxury of using his name.
I just simply refer to perpetrators as perpetrators. And I think that that is what is best for all of us, because these perpetrators are drawn to these acts because of the recognition that it will bring to them. And if we can eliminate that, hopefully we can lessen the occurrences.
Occasionally I think about Dylan and Eric. There's not a point in not mentioning Dylan and Eric's names. They're burned into society. You can't recap that bottle. I think a lot about the person that they made me. What people don't understand is that the person who walked into that school on April 20th, me, never walked out again. A different person walked out of that school after the shooting.
I try not to think about the shooter or remember his name or watch videos of him that get circulated on the internet. It's hard because it's everywhere. And it's an attraction to violence, an attraction to trauma, an attraction to people who are considered damaged or bullied or misunderstood. And I think sometimes people really want to understand them, and I don't think that is necessary.
I think that school shootings will end when we shift from being a reactive culture to a preventative culture. Right now, the only thing that we're doing to try to combat this is teaching kids to hide better in active shooter drills that I fear are traumatizing entire generations and normalizing these tragedies.
I thought it would end after us. I thought that we would be the last one. I genuinely did. I thought that it was enough to make any sort of change, but it's a year later. I don't really see anything done.
20 years ago when Columbine happened, there were screams of never again, never forgotten. That was the old thoughts and prayers. But ultimately nothing happened. What frustrates me the most is that we walk to the precipice of change, but we don't seem to go any further. There has to be a political willingness and a political bravery on behalf of the citizens.
School shootings will end when America wants them to. It just doesn't want it yet.